If life was fair, Penn State defensive tackle PJ Mustipher would have already been duct taped to a goalpost, or vacuumed styrofoam peanuts out of his new SUV, or rocked a hideous Friar Tuck haircut. In other words, if life was fair, all the antiquated forms of NFL rookie hazing Mustipher will endure later this summer would be in the big guy's rearview mirror. But, as our thinning hairlines and expanding waistlines remind us of daily, life isn't fair. So PJ's here, facing an uphill climb to carve a role in the NFL as he continues the slow climb back from a serious knee injury that prematurely closed the curtain on a brief but brilliant 2021 season. It stinks acknowledging this, but without the setback, Mustipher probably would have been a late day 2 or early day 3 selection in last year's draft. Because as a then true senior, Mustipher was the hard-to-handle anchor of a top 10 national defense, a big-bodied, gap-clogging, block-stacking menace along the line of scrimmage. In 2022, though, post-injury, PJ was none of those things, a shell of his former self. In hindsight, it might have behooved Mustipher to extend his rehab beyond 8 months instead of rushing back for last year's fall camp. Of course, knowing PJ, a rare 2-time team captain, standard bearer, and all-around culture setter, waiting until he got back to 100% was never going to be a viable option if it meant he had to miss games. Early in his college career, Mustipher teased fans as a spot-duty rotational defensive tackle, showcasing a foot-to-the-floor tenacity as a one-gap penetrator. A 2-time All-American wrestler in high school, Mustipher also leaned heavily on his advanced understanding of leverage to stalemate blocks against older, presumably stronger, offensive linemen. Mesmerized by Mustipher's surprising athleticism, Penn State's strength and conditioning staff had PJ shed a bunch of weight before the 2020 season, the rationale being that with less baggage around the belt, he'd cause more havoc in opposing backfields. Unfortunately, that assumption was flawed, as Mustipher got pushed around and posted less solo tackles, less TFLs, and less forced fumbles than the previous year. To correct that failed experiment, Mustipher ballooned back to 330 pounds in 2021 to better withstand double teams. What's funny is that the extra mass didn't really help in that regard as much as Mustipher and Penn State's coaches would have predicted. But it also didn't take away from aspects of PJ's game that make him great, namely short area quickness, the ability to play low with supreme pad level, and Mustipher's unrivaled explosive get-off. Because moving pictures don't do it justice, we decided to take a few screenshots to illustrate PJ's post-snap burst. Just look at these. Mustipher's D-line neighbors are still in their stance while PJ is breathing the same air as a guard or a center. And if you're wondering what happens when PJ gets these types of massive head starts, well, here you go. Incredibly, despite only playing 5.5 games in 2021, Mustipher was an Associated Press first-team All-Big Ten selection at defensive tackle. In that shortened sample size, Mustipher set the bar of what he can be at his best. A classic, old-school run stuffer in charge of setting the stage on first and second downs so pass rushers may feast on third and longs. Now, the challenge for Mustipher is proving to his future NFL employer that he'll get back to that elite level someday soon.